3 out of our friendlies are down, or is it 5? The secret behind closed doors. We don't know how many of these friendlies there have been, but we are 2 weeks to go, 2 preseason friendlies to go before we play Bolton in the league, which is frankly the real quiz. This is the Blue Monday podcast. Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, discussing Ipswich Town up or down since 2015. I'm Richard Wood and you're tuned into the Flagship show, available each week-ish during the summer, but certainly each week during this season, available on podcast and video. And joining me to chat signings, to chat friendlies, to chat unbearable heat probably, my good friend Seb Brown. Seb, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. Thank you for having me. My first pre-season appearance of the podcast so far. Looking to build some sharpness today, getting ready for the real event in 2 weeks' time.
I had some what's the word I'm looking? I said baked goods, but that doesn't sound. I had some fatty treats at Wimbledon yesterday, and that was my pre-season training, getting ready for, and it was vegan as well. So I'm getting pre-season training for Forest Green Rovers. We're going to drop the Forest Green Rovers klaxon a few times, I'm sure, during the show, because we're both going there. And if we don't talk about it, it's not happening, is it, Seb? So we're excited about that. We had a question from Romeo in the Telegram group about which grounds are you most looking forward to. Is Forest Green on your list?
Yeah, like you say, we're both going. It's new, isn't it? It's different with the whole vegan kind of culture there. So it's a new one to tick off. Did the whole thing sell out within a couple of hours? It's going to be an amazing following.
Yeah,
hopefully a hot day, because didn't you get to get sun? We're uncovered, aren't we? So we want warmth, but not blazing sun. So that's hopefully the perfect. Yeah,
all the cool kids go
combination
uncovered, standing.
Yeah, hopefully it will be a good following and our second win of the season, hopefully. Yeah,
well, we'll talk about Wimbledon in a bit. That was a good fun. I need to mention some people who came up and said hello and for once weren't insulting or nasty to me. Chris, I think, was one of them. Tom was one, certainly. Liam. I was sat alongside these two guys won't like me for doing this, but Sean Paul for the women's game against Wimbledon from our Telegram group. I travelled down with Matt as well, Matt Makin. Had a nice chat with Ross for the Kings of Anglia game day stuff. I saw Mark Detmer there as well, friend of the podcast. He was very happy and pleased to be there, which is great. And I even threw the ball back yesterday, Seb. I kind of threw it towards Christian Walton, but there you go. So I kind of ticked lots of boxes. I had a vegan sausage roll, met some great people. We won matches. We'll talk about that as well. And saw one of the 3 Lions. So what more do you want?
Do you know, I've never, in 30 years of going to football, I've never thrown the ball. It's never even come close, I don't think. I've never done it, never ticked that one off. I kind of feel like I need to, if it happens and I catch the ball, I'll give it to you. Like, I'll put my arm around your shoulder and go, here you go, lad, throw it back in. But the pressure, it's weird. You'll feel the pressure of, please don't throw it either, because we're in that low stand in Wimbledon. It's like, don't throw it against the top of the roof and it bounces down and hit you. Or don't throw it so it hits the back of the advertising hoardings, because, you don't want to kind of, I was going to say you don't want to be caught short, but there you go. That means it's like when you're in a park and you're walking through and like a football comes over from a load of kids and you've got to kick it back and you think to yourself, let's get this right. We don't want to suddenly shank this wide and everyone in the park's going to start laughing at you. Yeah, the pressure is definitely on.
You want to trap it first time, nice kind of outside of the boot pass. This is a niche reference, and you might know this, but a few others might need to look this up on YouTube. Armando Iannucci did his own. It's a sketch show is kind of wrong. It's obviously the writer behind the Day-to-Day and all that kind of stuff, and I think involved in Brass Eye and certainly Partridge. He did his own show in the 90s on Channel 4, and he did that. He kind of talks about being a man in football and stuff like that. There's two sketches that are really good. One is he goes into a pub and has a guy on a microphone, and he has an earpiece in his ear, and he's feeding him information to talk about the match. And it goes all kinds of wrong. I think I've screwed that one up, actually. I think everyone else has got an earpiece telling them what to say apart from him. And he goes, away, 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 Derby County. Go Burkham, you've got 10 legs. Yes, use them. That kind of stuff. The other one is he's in the park and the ball goes towards him, and he talks about the mild panic that ensues when So YouTube, Iannucci football, there you go. I'll tweet it later on. I've spent far too much talking about that kind of stuff. Let's move on and talk about proper business, Seb. Let's talk about transfer business first and foremost. Marcus Harness, which we are definitely going to fall over in terms of 2 S's at the end of his first and surname. But he joined Friday night for an undisclosed fee, with Joe Pigott going the other way on a season-long loan. A few bits and pieces about him. Born in Coventry, so automatically my favourite player in the squad. Started out in their youth system. Only 26, a good age, still to kind of find, still before his peak, I'd say. 6 foot, so physical presence. Folk might remember him scoring against us in the 2 undefeated Fratton Park, I think under Paul Cook, probably. I think that was,
one of the behind closed doors in sort of March time, February time, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, Burton came through there, 68 appearances, 5 goals. Pompey, since 2019, 111 apps, 23 goals. Seb, your thoughts on Harness and where he features, I guess?
A good signing. Where he features, I guess, he's a very versatile player. So Pompey mainly using down that right-hand side, didn't they, in the attacking right channel. But he can play the number 10. He can play on the left coming in. I think if you listen to McKenna's post-match yesterday, he briefly touches on him and he kind of says, his versatility is a key attribute. He's a proven League One player. Was it 11 goals last season in the league and 6 assists? So, I mean, Christ, if he got that for us, he'd be our second top scorer and I think our joint assist maker as well. So, proven quality player. I wasn't expecting us to strengthen that kind of position, I guess. I kind of thought, Wes Burns will make the right-hand side completely his own. But when you read into his versatility, understand where else he can play on the pitch, it kind of makes sense. Like you said, a good age, 26. So, I guess like the likes of Edmondson and Chaplin, they'll be thinking this is potentially one that could move through the divisions with us if it all goes well. And it sounds like we've beaten off a little bit of interest from the Championship. I think Blackburn and Swansea were linked with him. So again, it's encouraging that the guys in charge, Ashton and the rest of them, are able to sell this project idea, this kind of package idea that, I know we're in League One now, but this is the journey we're going on. And it's great to see players of this caliber and this quality are excited to join up and come in. So another great signing. I guess we'll touch on the elephant in the room of Bersant Salina, and we'll come on to see if this puts that to bed. But, adds quality, adds goals, adds flair, adds excitement. He's direct, he's powerful, he's quick, everything that we want to see on a football pitch.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a nasty edge to him as well. Not nasty is the strong word, but he's not afraid to get in there, stuck in as well, which maybe we've lacked.
Streetwise, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the signings of Dominic Ball in particular. Maybe that's something that McKenna has addressed. I think we've talked about this many times, and we like to obviously pat ourselves on the back. But I remember even the relegation season, the summer reviews that we tend to do. I remember Dave Diamond. I remember agreeing with him wholeheartedly. We needed some physical presence, certainly in the middle of the park. We needed players who are not afraid for a fight. And there have been times, and McKenna will have seen it against the likes of Morecambe and Cheltenham and early in the season and all that kind of stuff. And teams just don't want to play football against us. So sometimes you need to be up for a fight. You need a bit of a plan B as well, which we'll obviously look into. We'll talk about plan B maybe another time. But I think Harness is part of that, but certainly a creative player and an exciting player. And and I guess we forget that Burns is, one of your home nation lot, isn't he?
Someone I bloody love.
Someone you bloody love. Sorry, everyone in Wales. But potentially is going to be missing for, if I think the World Cup squads are something like 28 or 29 players now, aren't they? I think
26. Yeah, it's been extended to 26. So when it was 23, I didn't think he'd get in. 26, I guess all it takes is one injury, and he will be off for sort of 6 weeks of the season. It'll be mid-November, start of November to mid-December or something. I can't remember the exact World Cup date. So he will obviously be a massive loss, and it looks like we're looking to mitigate that eventuality.
And Burns has also been injured. Do you remember? I joked in the season review, Burns potentially lost Paul Cook his job. That's how important he was for us. So if McKenna and Ashton want 2 players notionally for every position, then you kind of think, well, until Harness was through the door, who's gonna? If Burns is out, he's playing the right wing position or right wing back position.
Absolutely, yeah. And we also saw, didn't we, towards the end of the season, some sides would start to double up on Burns to sort of, negate his effectiveness and stuff. So I guess all we've got now is an extra weapon in the locker. They spoke about Carl Edwards. I know he didn't played the last couple of games. He's been injured, but they spoke about him training up as a right wing back, and now you've got Harness who can do the job slightly further forward. Because let's be honest, in an attacking position, Wes Burns is an out and out winger, isn't he? He's not really a fullback; he's an out and out forward. So at least we have these options now, whereby if somebody is doubling up on Burns and he can't really work as he normally works, we've finally got people who can come in and hopefully look to make a difference, especially with the addition of 5 subs this year.
Exactly right. Seb, why 11 p.m? We were debating this yesterday at the Wimbledon game. No one's got a good answer. What's your theory?
Absolutely no idea. All I can think was it maybe going to leak somewhere? Was one of the local Portsmouth journos about to leak it, and they felt they had to get it out? There's no other logic. I mean, most people were sort of getting ready to go to bed and stuff, and the admin suddenly pops up saying, "Everyone stay awake," and Twitter melts down thinking that Selena's going to join, etc. But no logic whatsoever. I can understand why they wanted it to be a double announcement, because Pompey kind of buried the transfer out in the Joe Pigott story, didn't they? And said, we've signed Joe Pigott. Oh, by the way, one of our best players has left to a divisional rival, which the Pompey fans didn't take very well, did they? But I've got no idea why it was 11, but it was a little bit of excitement on a Saturday night.
It was on a Friday night. Yeah. Interesting one there. It's interesting you talk about journos possibly leaking it. It was mentioned, I think, forget the guy's name, but it certainly did the rounds in our Telegram group and on Twitter. National Journo was mentioning Barnsley as well, I think, in link with Harris. But the reaction from the Pompey fans was interesting. My favourite one was someone posting a clip from the in-between as well. Will isn't particularly nice. I can't remember the context of that clip, but it was, what the are you doing? Let's talk about Joe Pigott. Our friends at Kings of Anglia, particularly Andy and Stu, been talking about the potential for Pigott's departure for a couple of weeks now, and they, I think, were mentioning the season-long loan thing. What's your thoughts on that one?
Well, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? A season-long loan, because with his wages, he was always going to be difficult to shift. He just doesn't fit in, does he, with what McKenna wants? We've seen from the signings this summer of Ladapo and Tyrese John Jules, and him bringing Caden Jackson back into the fold, that McKenna clearly likes an athletic, pacey striker who can run the channels, stretch the play, press from the front, and that simply isn't Pigott's game. He had some off-field personal issues that probably contributed to last season, but he wouldn't have played anywhere near how he wanted to have done. I guess potentially, are we covering the majority of his wages to help push through the Harness deal? Maybe. We can only speculate as to that, but hopefully he'll go there and do us a bit of a favour and score some crucial goals against our rivals. Obviously, he can't play against us, which is good. Hopefully, he can take some points off our rivals and get himself back up and running again. Because when we signed him last year, I think we were all pretty much in unison that he was going to be the main guy, the 20-goal-a-season striker to fire us up, and it never worked for him, did it? And as long as McKenna is here, which hopefully is going to be for the foreseeable, I can't see how he fits in. So best case for him, he goes there, scores himself 15, 20 goals this season, helps us by taking some points off our rivals, and then gets himself a move there next year, hopefully.
Yep, fingers crossed for him. It'd be good to see him kick his career back into gear, isn't it?
Absolutely,
and, yeah. A disappointing one for him last time out. And who knows what happens at Portsmouth, right? And if he does well there, then there's a fee, isn't there? Because he's a 3-year contract, isn't he? So yeah, even if we, fingers crossed. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of finger crossing and a lot of hypotheticals talking about the P word. But if it does happen, then you want to get money for him, don't you, next summer? Because he's certainly not. I don't think any of us would expect him to feature in a championship squad, would they? So, all the best to him. In terms of bits and pieces left to go, Seb, are you still looking for more bodies? That's the wrong phrase, isn't it? It's always a weird one, bodies, because you kind of think it's something else.
Personnel.
Any more transfers, acquisitions that you think we need to make?
I think so, yeah. We still need a left back, although Greg Lee seems to impress me. I knew there yesterday. We'll come on to Wimbledon, but he's impressing me. He looks a bit of an athlete and he's got something about him, so I've got no issues with him starting. I mean, Leif Davis started for Leeds, didn't he, on their pre-season tour last night, was it, or yesterday? Because they've got an injury to their regular left back. So if that one gets done, it's not going to be any time soon. We're probably looking at end of the window for that. I still think we need a striker, the marquee guy, the number 9 to come in, be that Hurst or whatever. I think we definitely need a striker up top, and I still think we need an attacking midfield. I know we've got Chaplin and we've got Aluko, and Harness can kind of play there, but I expect to see those 3 positions filled: a striker, central attacking midfielder, and the left back, or the left wing back rather.
We'll talk about Lee in relation to Wimbledon in a bit, because I was impressed with him, and I do feel sorry for him that he's kind of notionally brought in and and then probably assumes, not unreasonably, that he's going to be the first choice left wing back, and then the links with Davey start, and £1 million fees have talked about. I kind of think if you want to spend £1 million, does it really need to be on a left wing back in League One? I personally, I know people like when we flash the cash and we make kind of statement signings. I just think Penny's okay. I think probably if, and we know about Lee's injury history, which has been a challenge for him. If Penny was to be the backup choice, I think that's a question mark for me, but I'm okay with Lee as our starting left wing back. That makes me think, why not try and get someone a little bit of an improvement on Penny, either on loan or a kind of a small fee for a League Two player, rather than chucking 7 figures at a player I know that we've done this quite a lot of recruitment last summer, Seb, where we signed players kind of who would be looking to get into championship squads, but bought into the project, another P word, at Ipswich. And we probably were quite competitive with wages. Do we need to do that every time?
But part of it as well, like Harness, like Edmondson, I guess like Harper was meant to be, you want to have those bodies who can take you through the divisions as well, don't you? So, personnel that can get you through the divisions. I mean, if we were, hopefully, fingers crossed, like you say, to go up this summer, then you're going to want a core of 5-6 players in that team who you feel could make the step up. Obviously, for me, Penny wouldn't do it in the Championship. Lee is a bit of an unknown quantity. We simply don't know. So I guess if you can get somebody of that potential ability for £1 million, which is still relatively small change, if you can get somebody in now, look to develop them for a year, then for starters, firstly, you've got a ready-made left wing back / left back ready to go when you make the step up, hopefully this time next year. And also you've got that development piece, as Ashton would call it, where you can have him a year in the Championship and then sell him for £5 million back to the Premier League, if you need to. So I think it's a bit of long-term kind of planning as well. I understand what you're saying. There are probably other areas where £1 million would go further and have more impact on the team. But I think when you look at the whole, you're not looking at the whole pie, Richard. I think when you look at that kind of stuff, then potentially it does make sense.
Good pie. Quite love that one. Who's the bits in the pie? No. It's a really good point in terms of the developmental thing. I guess the risk is we don't go up, and it's a lot of money, isn't it? But I've now played out the other P word and the non P word. So let's stop talking about promotion and non-promotion. It's a fair point, nevertheless. We'll see on that one. In terms of attacking midfielders, we need to the C word, not that one. Selena, Seb. This is starting to bore me. I don't want to start muting words and muting accounts on Twitter, but I'm getting really close. Do you think Harness kind of spells the end of the links with Selena, or like me, do you think that the 31st of, is there 31 days in August? Bloody hell.
It's whatever transfer, September, isn't it? Yeah.
Transfer deadline day, is there going to be a sneaky season-long loan for Selena?
That might be the get-out option for all parties. We don't know what's gone on. There's been so much Twitter speculation, and Stu and Andy have written feature pieces about it and stuff. It seems it was very close, and somehow goalposts, etc., were moved. At what end, we don't really know. He's a quality player. I would sign him up. I know people will argue and say only 6 goals and 6 assists last year, but he came in with no preseason. He came in with a heart condition. Then he got COVID, etc. So, for me, he's a quality player. If you can get the deal done, do it. But we might have to be a bit patient on this one, and it might well be that it gets to the end of the window, and it's a bit of a game of bluffing. Suddenly Dijon will think, hang on a minute, we can't pay his wages. We've got 5 hours to go on the transfer deadline window. Let's get him loaned out again, with Ipswich covering the half or majority of the wages, and stick an option in there that if we go up, we buy him for a nominal fee or whatever. So it will rumble and rumble. He can't sign for any other UK club, can he, because of the work permit issue, whereas ours is an extension of his existing previous work permit. Just one for all you Football Manager nerds out there who, like me, can never sign him after year one. But the likes of Turkey appears to be on the table and stuff. But you'd like to think the affinity he's got with the club will sway in our favour, and sunny Suffolk is nicer than sunny Turkey, I'm sure. But hopefully it'll get done. But we're gonna have to be patient on this one, and part of me just wants him to sign for somebody so it's over, because it is getting a bit tedious, isn't it? Logging onto Twitter all the time. I don't really use Twitter that much anymore because of our Telegram group. I kind of tend to go in there more, but every time you log onto Twitter and you've got people arguing about it and saying he's coming, he's not coming, blah blah, it is getting a little bit repetitive and a little bit dull, isn't it?
It is. I think we've said all we need to say on that one. We shall wait and see. In terms of outgoings, we pinged a very early question to the folks over on Telegram. Just this is a bit of an impromptu podcast, but we've got plenty to talk about, haven't we? Dan Connors has asked about seeing most of the incomings now. Who needs to leave in terms of loan or permanent, in terms of balancing the squad, Seb, or is just going to surplus to requirements now based on the recruitment?
Well, I guess one of Harper or El Mazouni should probably go out on loan. We've got our three central midfielders in Ball, Morsey and Evans. And I guess those two are kind of fighting to be the backup, aren't they? I guess given the fact that he was out on loan last year, maybe you keep Harper in the building so that McKenna can look at him and see what he can offer, be it in a central midfield position or maybe slightly further forward as a number 10, which is where Cook ended up using him towards the end of his tenure. And let El Mazouni go out and play for a season. Let him. He's only 21. We forget he is still very relatively young. Let him go out and play like Ndaba did last year. 35, 40 games. And we can kind of see what he can do. So maybe one of those to depart. But apart from that, it's pretty much done. I thought Clacky would have gone by now because I think I kind of figured he would want to play football. That could still be one that happens if somebody comes in for him and we just go out and get ourselves probably an experienced, freebie experienced kind of mid-30s goalkeeper. An experienced goalkeeper who's happy to play the odd Carling Cup game or Pizza Cup game and sit on the bench for all the league fixtures, and that might be one that gets done towards the end of the window. But in terms of outgoings, I can't see that many more, in all honesty. Not now that Piggott's gone. And do we mention Baggett on the podcast yet? Obviously, Baggett's gone.
I think that. Yeah, Norwood joined Barnsley for a year, didn't he?
That's going to be fun at the end of August, isn't it? It's the 27th they're coming back, isn't it? So that's going to be fun. So, expect some proper S-housery and... try not to react too much if you're in the crowd because it'll just wind him up even more.
Definitely do that, I think.
100% to the North Stand. Or it'll stand in front of them and cup the ears. Yeah.
Jeff Horsfield, don't he? Yeah, we need, in terms of your signing targets, goalkeeper, we need a modern-day Lee Bracey, don't we? That's who we need, or Mike Salmon. Chris asks, Cameron Humphreys, keep or loan out?
It sounds like he's going to be kept. He's got praised by McKenna yesterday after the Palace game, and I guess he offers a bit of versatility. He can play as the number 8, kind of as the number 10, or even maybe as a wing back in an emergency situation. So the first half of the season, you've got all these Pizza Cup games. There's going to be 3 of those, maybe a couple of Carabao Cup games. You've got the FA Cup games, so there's a chance for him to get a few decent run-outs, and then maybe as it goes to January, maybe you loan him out for the second half of the season as those kind of games dissipate and aren't on the radar anymore. But I think he'll be kept around in the building certainly for the first half of the season, and fully deserved because he's been looking really, really good in pre-season. And
another Chris Rand, 5 subs allowed from 7 this season. Will this give us a advantage to? Let me read this in full. Serious advantage to a small handful of teams, including ourselves. Do you think McKenna will really push this tactically? Usually starting one or more players and knowledge that they'll only play 40 to 60 minutes. Might we even start to see first half subs more often?
Well, you still only get 3 windows, don't you? You get 3 windows to make the subs, and I think half time is included as well. So I'm not sure about first half subs, but I think McKenna's comments yesterday were quite telling when he was asked about sending the 2 different, how did he decide on the split for Wimbledon and Palace? And he kind of said, I don't see a strong first 11. I want, a whole squad ready to go. And I guess that shows his kind of mindset and his mentality. And let's be honest, if we're trying to break down a side with Burns, Chaplin and Aluko, and then he gets 60 minutes and we haven't done it, then you can bring on the likes of Harness, Jackson, Carl Edwards. The options are incredible, and the kind of pace and power we can bring off the bench against tiring legs, in theory, it should be a massive advantage for us, and hopefully one that we'll use very sensibly. But his comments to me yesterday just made me think he's not really focusing on a definitive 11. He will be making changes fairly regularly, and I think we might well see players start for 60 minutes, and if it's not working, then we might just see a triple change at the 60-minute mark and inject some fresh pace and all that kind of stuff to try and turn the tide in our favour.
Yeah, and horses for courses a little bit in terms of the team selection. We've got different types of players for different needs, Seb. That's what we've got now. Jack asks us, are we light in the centre mid positions if El Mazzini, you mentioned El Mazzini going out, if he goes out. What's your thoughts on that?
But you've still got senior. Harper, and you've got the 3 senior. You've got Ball, Evans, and Morsey are the 3 senior ones, and I guess it'll be one of them alongside Morsey until Morsey kicks somebody and gets suspended for a couple of games. Then you've got Harper as the backup. You've got Humphreys who can slot in there. You've got a couple of kids from the academy who could come in if need be. So I think loaning El Mazzuni out would be good for his development. I don't think it would hurt us that much, given the other players that could kind of slot in there if needed. And when Selena rejoins, don't forget he can play central midfield.
When Selena rejoins,
so he can play there as well, like he did away at Fleetwood, I think it was. So then you've got another option there. See,
when I come to clipping up the kind of key quote for this week's pod and post it on our socials, that will be the clip that I just out no context when Selena rejoins. Love that. There's the in the know guy right here, folks. Seb Brown's on the inside track. Theory. I don't think Elmes will move on because Wimbledon, he seemed to play 5 different positions throughout the game. I think he's got versatility that McKenna will value. And I think he's a really excellent bench option to kind of Chris Rand's point. I think this brings someone like El Mazzini a real opportunity. He's not going to get starting minutes necessarily unless there's injuries, but he can come on. I think against Wimbledon, he played left wing back, right wing back, midfield, attacking midfields. So I think El Mazzini's got a real shot of being a backup player who's going to get a lot of minutes, actually, just by being versatile. And he's one of iron as well. I think he showed real determination. He could have dropped off the radar a little bit. Look at, dare I say, Armando Dobra is now at Chesterfield. He's had admittedly a really disappointing loan spell at Col U, but it's kind of disappeared off the radar, having been the next big thing. And Mazzini's just plugged away, isn't he? Yeah. He's had his loan spells too, but I wonder whether he's going to, have a shot.
So would you loan out Humphreys and Harper then to ensure there's not too much traffic?
Well, should we talk about Palace? Because Jack's got some questions about individuals and their performances against those teams. Harper played against Palace. Let me put the teams up from the Palace friendly on Saturday morning. And here you go. Hladky, Dynasty and Edmondson and Darber, Penny, Burns, Ball, Harper, Humphreys, Aluko and Jackson. Harper there in the central midfield. What was your take on this one, Seb? You've watched the highlights on this one, and 4-2 win, though the 2 goals for us maybe came towards the end when Palace had kind of checked out a little bit. What's your take on this, and any key personnel that stuck out in terms of good or bad?
Well, I was surprised at the strength of both sides, really, both the Ipswich side and the Palace side. I kind of thought with their main party being on tour in Australia or wherever it is, I thought they'd be playing mainly kids and we would therefore match it with maybe a couple of the fringe players. I thought the likes of Hladky and Harper might well come in to give them some game time and stuff. So I was quite surprised when I saw the lineup, but I guess that shows the quality of our squad. And we've got to remember we're playing against, like West Ham, we're playing against proper Premier League kind of players here. The likes of Benteke and stuff and Decore. They're going to be. Palace are probably going to finish between 10th and 15th in the league in the Premier League, and these guys are just an absolute cut above. I've seen some stuff online, people saying about Indarba's being shown up today and he's not doing great, etc. But preseason is about that. For one, it's about making mistakes and stuff, and it's also important that remember who we're playing against. We're not playing against Needham Market anymore. There's no chance we're going to come up in League One against anybody of the caliber of Wilfried Zaha or Benteke or anybody. So I think that needs to be remembered as well. Reverted back to the 3 at the back. Obviously, we'd seen, was it the Arsenal game and the Needham Market game, a slight change, but I guess now we're getting properly through the fixtures. We're reverting back to the normal 3 at the back kind of system. Strong team, like I said, Aluko and Humphreys is the number 10 behind Jackson. And some of the defending wasn't great, but the quality we're playing against does need to be taken into account. And I kind of like McKenna's comments afterwards, saying he knew some players would get stretched against Palace and therefore wanted to kind of see what they can do. And Humphreys came in for a bit of praise after the game, and Aluko's goal is lovely. If you've seen the highlights, his goal is really, really nice. He kind of opens up his body and runs onto a shot on the outside of the area and left foot properly into the top corner. A goal from a set piece as well. Aluko swings a ball in left-footed and Dominic Ball, albeit unmarked. And I think that was after Palace made quite a few subs with more inexperienced players, should we say. But he managed to get a decent head on the ball, and there were a couple of bright moments, and it is what it is. It's a useful run out to get some minutes in the tank against quality opposition, and I'm not seeing it as a disaster or players being schooled, etc. that I saw on some of the social media channels and stuff last night.
You mentioned the caliber of opposition. Is this in terms of the schedule? And it should come as no surprise because we know all about Kieran McKenna and his backroom team. But I can't recall as competitive a pre-season schedule in recent memory. Is that your reflection too, Seb?
Very much so. Yeah, I mean, we saw under Mick, we would always go to Ireland to the same hotel, country spa thing, and play a few local teams. And Lambert, okay, I guess under COVID rules, they couldn't really travel far. We played Spurs a couple of times, but normally it's the same things, isn't it? It's normally a few lower league teams, Cole U at some point thrown in there before the season starts, and maybe you might get a marquee game against the likes of maybe West Ham down the road. But this time it certainly seems to be a step up, and I quite like the way they've done it in a certain order. So we've had Arsenal, West Ham, Palace in sort of the middle of the programme, and now we're going to go into Wimbledon, then we're going into Millwall, and then Southend. So I like the way they've done that in trying to kind of boost confidence and do the really hard stuff in the middle of the preseason programme when you're really looking to build those fitnesses before hopefully building some decent performances, like we'll come on to with the Wimbledon game, before the real stuff starts in 2 weeks' time or wherever it is. But it certainly is. It's by far the most competitive preseason I can remember. Even back in the Premier League days, and the days we were fighting out at the top of the Championship, it was never. I remember playing Newcastle once under for Dale Roberts' testimonial, and West Ham is a fairly regular fixture, but to play three Premier League sides, strong Premier League sides as well. I mean, that Arsenal side, you could see them putting out one weekend in the Premier League, couldn't you? Certainly the first half side. Yesterday, I was surprised at how strong the lineup was. West Ham was okay, a half and half, but you're still talking the likes of Mikel Antonio, etc. So yeah, it's a really important thing, and that shows again McKenna's experience and quality. He's come from Man United and Tottenham. They don't mess around with pre-season tours, do they? I mean, Man United played Liverpool a couple of nights ago in the Far East or whatever. I understand they're mainly commercial deals, but you're still testing yourself against both rivals and top quality opposition, and it just shows again, and it reaffirms my belief that McKenna is just so switched on. So yeah, he's so clever and preparing so well, as opposed to the normal comments we got a few years ago where I don't care about pre-season, I don't care about the results, it means nothing, blah blah blah.
Yeah, I'm interested. Yeah, I mean, Southend is the last fixture as well. I admit it's a Tuesday night, but it's a Tuesday night before the season starts on the Saturday. It's a team that we would be expected to beat, and part of me thinks it's a team where, I think someone asked us whether you expect McKenna to show his hand and you get the kind of the notional starting 11, albeit I think we're agreeing that there isn't there's probably a spine, isn't there? But there isn't a consistent 11 that's always going to be picked. But Southend, you win 3 or 4, hopefully even more. That builds confidence, having, in terms of physical and tactical stress of playing against better teams, let's be honest, Premier League teams. You then get into, right, we now know the standard that we need to be aspiring to. We know where we need to be. Wimbledon yesterday, we'll talk about that in a sec, was an utterly dominant performance. So that, in terms of proof of concept and proof of McKenna's messages and instructions landing, I think Wimbledon is a great endorsement of that. Millwall kind of confirms it against a team that, let's be honest, we would aspire to be beating in the near future. So that kind of reinforces everything that he said. And then Southampton is right. Now prove it. Now batter someone, because that's moving on to Wimbledon. That was my takeaway from yesterday. Apart from just completely bossing possession, Walton had very little to do. And even when, there were balls over the top, Walton was dashing out to sort it out, playing calm passes as he started to do towards the latter end of last season. It was a really impressive performance from the other half of the squad. Let's put the team up here. Walton in goal, Mazzuni, Wolfenden, Burgess, Vincent Young, Evans, Morsey, Lee, Chaplin, John Jules, and Ladapo. We would expect to turn up to Wimbledon, who have been relegated. A little bit of a rejig there. Johnny Jackson's gone in, a few new signings and so on. But this is the kind of team that you would expect to beat 3-0, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is more the traditional kind of preseason friendly where, you want to see some good goals and some patterns of play and some experience. And it sounds like you said, a completely dominant performance. You were there. Was El Mazzuni the right-sided centre-back, or was it Vincent Young and El Mazzuni was the right wing-back, or did it change throughout the game?
El Mazzuni was, I think, the right centre-back. It was kind of the 3/4 situation that we've seen. El Mazzuni kind of floated for me. As I said, one time he was on the left-hand side of the defence and then the right. Then marauded kind of forward. He was a bit of a fluter yesterday, but I think notionally right side. Vincent Young definitely pushed forward. in terms of the players that stuck out for me, it's the first time I've seen Greg Lee. Really impressed with him. Real physical presence, direct running, always gets his cross in, and his crosses generally get somewhere useful in the penalty area. It's not always that you're going to cross and someone will be there, but we've seen crossing from other players that leaves a lot to be desired, and Lee was delivering crosses yesterday. There was a lovely one where he received kind of a long cross diagonal from Evans, who was just spraying those all day yesterday, and he hit it first time. It was kind of a cross/shot. I think it was meant as a cross, but side foot volley, first time cross yesterday was probably the highlight for him. But yeah, plenty of pace, acceleration, does the hard work as well. So I was really impressed with Lee. Wolfenden, to quote Sean, who we were there with yesterday, could have had a smoking jacket on. He was so calm. There was a couple of moments in the first half, maybe one in the second, where he had to dash back to cover a ball over the top. And, Wolfenden, he's kind of very languid and calm and relaxed in his demeanour. But when he wants to, he puts the afterburners on, and nothing was getting past him. Admittedly, balls over the top where it's a straight race, but he was still winning those pretty comfortably. Now, whether he'll be able to do that again, against a Ladapo, for example, or a John Jules is another question. But Wolfenden was utterly comfortable yesterday, and so reassuring, I think, for the rest of that back line. Evans is obviously getting back to fitness. He very just calm, sitting, kind of quarterback style, kind of pinging long cross field diagonals, very calm, getting in and breaking up play when he could as well. But yeah, Vincent Young stuck out as well. Got forward a lot more. I think
a good pre-season, Vincent Young, doesn't he? I did kind of think at the end of the last season I wouldn't be that surprised if he moved on, because he kind of struggled to find his way back. But he got good reviews after the West Ham game, and it sounds like he had another good game yesterday. So, God, if we could get him back to the 2019,
where'd you play him?
Young we all knew. Then,
where does he fit?
Yeah, that's the other question, isn't it? But yeah, what a weapon that could potentially be at our disposal, like the proverbial new signing. Cliche.
There you go.
How did Morsey do? He's listening to just run the game. Did he? Yeah.
So I was going to finish on Morsey. His usual stuff. The word friendly is not in Sam Morsey's vocabulary. There's a few awkward moments in the second half where he took exception, I think, to some rough attention from his opposite number in the Wimbledon team, but a lot more. Well, it's the continuation of him being much more of an attacking central midfielder. He obviously can do the stuff we know about breaking up play, getting stuck in. But 2 goals for him yesterday. One, the first goal, he's got forward and hit a low trickling volley past the keeper. That's what we need. We've been missing. We've relied on forwards to score the goals. The midfield haven't provided much. Well, Morsey's got 2. Admittedly, the second one is a bit opportunist. The keeper's just pinged it out to him about 40 yards out, and he's just returned it from where it came and chipped the keeper. Great goal. It shows what confidence he's got as an attacking force now, but just an all-round quality display from Morsey yesterday.
Yeah.
And you couldn't help but come away from that game and feel really positive about the way we're doing things. And the discussion we had amongst the guys that I was sat with yesterday, Seb, is you just rewind a year. The recruitment was probably part way through. We had Paul Cook, who is just so rigid in his systems, 4-2-3-1 by hook or by crook. And now we were saying yesterday, Paul Westlake mentioned it, 1 loanee so far. 1 loanee.
Yeah.
When have we ever been able to say we've got a squad with such depth and quality in depth, and only one of them is a loanee, and that's an Arsenal loanee as well?
Yeah.
But the system doesn't matter, Seb. I think that's the passing triangles. Harry from Bath's trademark covalent bonds. You could just see that yesterday. There was utter confidence, utter confidence in the players around each other. I know where to be. I know where to make my runs off the ball. It felt like chalk and cheese from last season, which was just chaotic for lots of reasons. But tactically, Ben's pattern of play comment that we've been talking about for a good few years, even under Lambert, McKenna and his team seem to have got it sussed. Am I building up the expectation too much?
Probably. I mean, when we finished 9th this season, we're going to be really disappointed looking back at this, aren't
we?
Hey
man, that's an improvement.
Yeah, true. Actually, yeah. No, I agree with you. You know, it doesn't matter who plays, what the formation is. We know what we're going to be seeing from this side, and it's really, really exciting, isn't it? And you know, I know we don't want to get. This is our 4th year at this level, and I think the previous 3 summers we've been excited about. You know, what's potentially going to happen, but this time it does feel very different given the personnel we have in charge at the football club at the moment. You know, and please God, hopefully this might finally be the year.
And Adam mentions with the budget squad, backroom playing style, he's sort of setting the target as promotion. Are we in no excuses territory, to borrow his words?
I think it depends how you finish the season, I think, doesn't it? You know, if you finish in the playoff final and you lose to a dodgy decision, that's very different to finishing 7th, for example, and not touching the playoffs. You know, there would be a scenario this year where we don't go up, and potentially, you know, it could, whilst it wouldn't be a positive, it might be understandable, and you might be kind of thinking that, you know, okay, we need to do this for next year. I think the comments from Mark Steed is probably quite clear. You know, there certainly is pressure at the upper echelons that, you know, you had your year last year of you know, building, etc. It's your man now. It's Kieran McKenna in the hot seat. He's your appointment. You've been backed. Christ, I mean, the backing that we've had is phenomenal. All the extra stuff on the stadium with the infrastructure and all the departments at the club. Whilst we're probably not in, you know, must win, must go up territory because of the way the season could go, they'll be under no illusions. The expectations all around Portman Road will be promotion this year.
Yeah. In terms of bits and pieces, we'll finish off the pod by looking ahead to the week ahead. I'll talk about the ITFC women's game as well. Obviously, a good number of the crowd remained for that one. That was their first pre-season game, but still, nevertheless, a victory for them, which would have given some confidence, a little bit of experimentation from Joshi, and obviously Paige Peake's departure, Eva Hubbard we know about as well, Lindsay Cooper, a few players have left during the summer. So Bonnie Horwood and Maria Boswell, experimental centre-backs there, trying to make that position, I guess, their own. That was obviously showed to be new positions for them. They'll take some time to get used to that. But otherwise, a really a good start to pre-season, I guess, for them. Their season starts mid to late August, so plenty of time for them to get up to speed. I wouldn't say as dominant as the men's team, and obviously, I think both teams struggled a little bit in the heat and temperature, and the quality of the surface meant that, you know, unlike Felixstowe, where you get a few bobbles and the ball certainly slows down, slick surface, watered surface was possibly new for our team. Not to put too much disparagement on our friends at Felixstowe and Walton, but 2 really nicely taken goals, particularly the first one. Good work from Lucy O'Brien. We haven't mentioned that we've continued our sponsorship of Abby Lafayette and Lucy O'Brien with support of our friends of Blue Monday again. Some new faces there. So thank you everyone who's got involved in that and supporting that. I'm really proud to continue that support of ITFC women. And yeah, Lucy showed some really excellent touches, both-footed player. We know she's an attacking force and really creative, and it was good to see her start to get her pre-season up and running, and hopefully, you know, she'll be a regular starter. But she was involved in playing in Anna Gray, who crossed in, and Zoe Barrett finished at the near post pretty comfortably. And then Maddie Biggs came on second half and chased down, created a mistake, hard the pitch, and punished the keeper with a really excellent finish. I kind of thought, she's taken it too far wide, and slotted it unerringly into the side of the net. So that was a really good to see in front of the travelling support as well. Really serious injury for a Wimbledon player. It was kind of a 15-20 minute stoppage. We never see. We don't know. The Wimbledon players didn't have squad numbers on the back of their shirts, and their PA system at Wimbledon is just as good as ours. So we didn't really know who that was, but we wish them all the very best. They look very serious, kind of back injury. So hopefully that's not too serious. But ITFC women's season up and running, and great that the club would kind of do that. You know, one club is the kind of the motto for yesterday, and it really was that. And great that hopefully some people who've never seen the team before chose to stick around and enjoy that one, come back. And there's another friendly against Cambridge next Sunday at the AGL Arena, I think it's now called, or ACL. I don't think it's ACL because that'd be anterior cruciate ligament, wouldn't it? So AGL Arena at Felixstowe. I don't know what the prices are, but we'll retweet about that. But do go down and give the women your support this season. We're obviously backing them through the sponsorship, so very proud of that. And a good day all round. 5-0 aggregate win for ITFC's men's and women's team. Seb, tell us about how much you love our Telegram group.
It's great. It's really, like I said earlier, I don't kind of have to go on Twitter as much anymore for, conversation and news and stuff, because it's all in Telegram, which has a much nicer clientele of people, is it fair to say? It's a really good service. As soon as that tweet from the admin club, as soon as the tweet from admin went out on Friday night with the signing, everyone's jumping on there, and we're up to 62 members at the moment or so, and there's always people online. You wake up and people have had a chat throughout the evening, and the match day group is brilliant. That's probably my favorite one on a match day, because it really builds that excitement, and you're seeing other people's rituals and where they're going to, and other people's perspectives and stuff. And it's a really great little community that we're trying to build. The first 2 weeks is on us, like you always say. You won't lose out by giving it a trial. And what's great to see is after the 2 weeks is up, loads and loads of people have stuck with it, and it's something that we're looking to grow and grow. And it's a really good place for some mature football conversation. We have 6-7 groups in there. There's one about cricket and golf, which I tend to mute, but there's a general football one regarding all things football and stuff. There's the ITFC one, there's the ITFC women one, ITFC Academy with Joe's great insight and stuff, and as I said earlier, the match day one. So give it a try. Come and join us. You won't lose anything. It's 2 weeks free on us. After that, it's a subscription service if you want to stay with it. But I'd encourage you to do so, because the quality of the conversation and the general atmosphere in it is superb.
Yeah, here. I can't really add any more to that, apart from the 2 week sign up doesn't even require a credit card. So it's not like you're giving your details and suddenly on the 2 weeks we're going to grab your money if you forget about it.
And it's not a lot either to pay. You're not paying a fortune for this service. It's certainly not an expensive service. The price for the well-being and the atmosphere and stuff in there is well worth it. So
we hope.
Don't think suddenly after 2 weeks it's going to start charging you £50 a month or something, because it's nothing like that. It's a really good little community that's well worth it. And come and join us, and hopefully, if the season goes as we hope it all will do, the excitement and chat on there will build and build.
Yeah, it's about the cost of a pint. So there you go. A pint a month in your budgeting. So
a pint down south is 3 pints up north.
There you go. Good point. So do join us on there. As always, in terms of bits and pieces of information, we are still in preseason mode as well. We're getting up to speed on stuff. We've got plans for the flagship show. Seb and I are going to rejig the pre-match show. We're planning a show next week. Actually, we've had some debate about the strength of the league. So Seb and I are going to try and do that, and then I think we're going to predict 1 to 24, aren't we, Seb?
I've changed mine twice already based on signings over the weekend.
Some signings have made the difference for you.
Yeah, it's like your fantasy football team. You have to keep changing it and tweaking it.
And talking of fantasy teams, Fantasy Premier League is back. The Blue Monday Podcast League has been refreshed. The code to join, if you are on the podcast, is WDYIQW, Whiskey Delta Yankee Indigo Quebec Whiskey, for those of you who are fans of the bill. And we'll obviously tweet that link out as well, and you can join that. So get involved. Congratulations to Bradley Dowson, who won our FIFA giveaway last season. He's won our FPL league last season. So we'll send him a voucher to redeem at the Terrace, get himself an ITFC mug. So we'll keep a prize for it. I may be overcommitted or over-suggested the quality of that prize, but we'll do something for whoever finishes in first. But do get involved in that as well, and we will dip into that depending on how good Seb and I are doing in the next season's pre-match.
I keep changing my team. I found a way that you can get like 4 of the superstars, or is it 5? 4 or 5 of the superstars in your team, and the rest of it is dross. I'm talking players that probably won't feature. So I'm trying to work out if having 5 of the top players, you're talking Salah, Kane, Haaland, Trent and Cancelo, is having those 5 going to be enough to get you across the line? So I'll make a final decision towards the start of the Premier League season which way I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I'm happy with. I've learned my mistakes from last season, which was the opposite of that strategy. Kind of have decent quality in every position, but don't have any superstars. And then soon I realised I need Harry Kane.
You didn't have any superstars. You didn't have like a Salah or a De Bruyne.
No, I didn't have Salah. I think I had De Bruyne.
Right.
But yeah, I think Salah is just an outlier because he's classified as a midfielder, which is just stupid.
I mean, he's also the top scoring fantasy Premier League player for the last 5 years in a row.
I know. I've learned my mistakes. You can be intelligent after the fact, Seb, but what if I'd won it? then what would you have said?
I don't think you would have done without Salah, to be honest.
So it was last year was my foundation year, my Paul Cook / Kieran McKenna season. This season's my McKenna season. That's what I'm saying. So do get involved in FPL. Yeah, clip bloody hell. Yeah, I'm just screwing over both me or Kieran McKenna. Come out badly off that quote, I don't think. But yeah, let me repeat the code WDYIQW. We'll tweet it as well. So do get involved in the FPL. Bants over there on Fantasy Premier League, and we'll give a prize to the winner, as we say. Seb, looking ahead to the week to come, we've mentioned ITFC Women's friendly against Cambridge on Sunday at Felixstowe. We don't have any midweek fixtures. We might do a midweek Q&A if there's any transfer business, though it feels like that's maybe quieting down a little bit. So all eyes on Millwall next week.
Yeah, Millwall on Saturday, and then the final one against Southend on the Tuesday night. So I guess we'll start to see again now, more and more players getting 90 minutes. We won't see the raft of changes at halftime or kind of 60 minutes. They'll be looking to properly get some fitness into the legs, and I guess we've already spoken about, will he show his hand? I'm not sure there is a hand to show. I guess we'll know the core, the 7 to 8 people that will start, will probably feature a start against Bolton. And the rest of it, again, is about, building fitness, building patterns of play, building understandings, hopefully a decent performance at Millwall. It'd be nice to see Bart again, decent performance at Millwall and some confidence, and then batter Southend, and then before we know it, it's all going to start again. Season number
quiz, as we
whatever
said,
it is for me, season 30, 20, season 29 or 30 for me, I think it is.
And
I'm feeling pretty confident about.
And you've got your season ticket, but do you want to do a confession now for everyone watching or listening about Bolton?
I'm not here. Yeah, I really messed up. So I booked a holiday I just forgot that the season would possibly start in June. I mean, when is the season's never started in July before, has it?
World Cup, mate. World Cup.
Yeah, but I didn't think that would affect us. I thought we'd be there. I booked it. I took football into consideration. I didn't check anything, but I looked at it and thought, right, well, I'm back on Tuesday, the 2nd of August. Fine. I won't be jet lagged and tired by the weekend for the first game of the season, and I'll head off to wherever we're playing or come down to Portman Road or whatever. But yeah, I've really, really messed that one up. So so I'm missing the Bolton game. I've got, I think, a 6 or 5 hour time difference. So I'll be watching it on a beach somewhere. Hopefully the Wi-Fi will hold up. So it's not all bad, but yeah, annoyingly, I'm not going to be there for that one. Whoops.
So if you see Seb at Forest Green, you'll know how to chastise him. There you go. That's word of the day. But you could also follow along in the match day Telegram group as well. So
that's what I'll be doing.
Yeah, sources of information.
Yeah.
Seb, thank you so much for that. I really enjoyed that. I hope everyone else has. If you did enjoy it, even if you did enjoy it, pop us a like. Make sure you subscribe as well. It only helps boost the channel and get us up the algorithms as well. Plenty of content if you haven't seen it already from earlier in the season. Earlier in the summer, 2-parter with Chris Guillaume, really excellent. Not too many people have spotted the second one. Some really interesting insights from the Marcus Evans era.
Very much so, yeah.
Some perspectives on certain individuals which people might find interesting. Some insights into managing Jack Grealish and Callum McGregor when he was at Notts County. And the challenges, the different logistical challenges he's got as being head coach at the British Virgin Islands. And obviously the first part, which majors on his time as a player with Ipswich as well. Definitely recommend that. And a chat with Joe Sheehan as well, ahead of the new season for ITFC Women. Really grateful for Joe for speaking to us as always, and some really great insights and good perspectives there. So we'll link one in the kind of top right-hand corner, probably the Chris Kiwami part 2. But do check out everything on our YouTube channel. And as always, as we mentioned before, bluemonday.itfc.co.uk for everything else you need for things Blue Monday. And as the season gets up and running, our content will become a little bit more reliable. And then we'll be looking forward to bringing back the pre-match show, Seb, but you're obviously going to miss it.
Sorry. Yeah. Dropped a clanger there. Well, we'll do that. We'll record this week, won't we? We'll record
We'll do our league preview.
We'll do the league preview one this week, and then you'll have to get somebody else to come in and do the Bolton game. And then after that, normal service will be resumed.
However, can I replace you, etc., etc. Seb, thank you for your time and your insights. Thank you again, everyone, for watching. Seb, do you want to have a final word, or shall I just say bye-bye?
You can just say bye-bye. We'll save the final word for when the stuff really starts to matter.
That's the real quiz. For the 3rd time I've said the real quiz today. I'm just spanking that office quite as best I can. Spanking, that's the word to leave everyone on. Have a nice week, everyone.